The churn of managers this season has been pretty outrageous. If you have a look at the Premier League, De Zerbi is the 11th longest running manager, and he arrived October, I think it was. So we're going to have a look at some EFL managers, 5 in particular. We've had to sort of stop it at 5. 5 managers that deserve that job in the Premier League. We saw Nathan Jones get that opportunity. Didn't last that long, but he'd obviously done brilliantly and did deserve that opportunity. And there's some great names here. I'm sure you guys will find some others that we miss, and you'll let us know in the comments down below. I've got the guys from Not the Top 20 podcast with me. Let's get straight into it. We've got 3 that you agree on and then 2 that you disagree on to finish out your 5. Let's start off with Michael Carrick. 30 matches, 18 wins. Akpom had 5 goals when he came into the job. He's now on 28 goals. An amazing first season for Michael Carrick.
Incredible.
What have you been most impressed by when it comes to him?
I think firstly we should say there might be other managers who deserve it as well. We're just saying these ones we definitely think deserve their shot as of now. I've been impressed by basically every single facet of his management style. I think with Carrick, he's someone you know that even if Borough don't get promoted through the playoffs this season, he is going to be linked to the West Ham job every time it comes up. He's going to be linked to the Spurs job every time it comes up. He's going to be linked to the United job every time it comes up, and plenty of other Premier League jobs as well because of his profile as a player, and rightly so. He's come in at Borough. He's shown immense tactical flexibility in terms of taking individual players, like taking Marcus Forss as an example, somebody who was very much a striker, a penalty box player when he came in, turn him into this kind of right-sided inside forward. Giving players such as Hayden Hackney, who hadn't played much first-team football at all since before Carrick came in, a central midfield player who spent last season on loan at League Two Scunthorpe, and turning him into one of the best central midfielders in the EFL. And coming in with this incredibly aggressive attacking approach where he gives his players complete freedom to play the way they want to play. It comes at a cost. They aren't the most solid defensively at all, but they create chances at will. And Ryan Giles on the left-hand side has been the creator for Chuba Akpom, who, Akpom himself has been just a revelation. It's not often you see players at his stage of his career suddenly come alive. Akpom is very keen to credit Carrick for that as well. And then you look at the loan market too. In Ramsey and an Archer, 2 players who obviously know each other very well from Aston Villa, who came in and just slotted into the side beautifully. I think as a manager for a Premier League club, especially when you look at the top sides in the Premier League, being able to take a group of 5 or 6 attacking players and make them work as an attacking unit is very difficult to do, and Carrick has proven that he is very capable of that in his first season of management. There's no doubt he's got what it takes.
I like the style of play is fantastic as well. And in terms of a manager, when we're saying to get a Premier League job and survive, I guess, with that job as well, having that gravitas to sort of, first of all, he's got a bit of a cheat code, I think, at times, because that gravitas in the Championship will be useful because people will listen to what you have to say. I heard someone, the kit man at Man United, talk about Michael Carrick, and he was saying that he didn't talk much, but when he did, you listened. And I wonder if that's a similar kind of style that works really well and gets something from this group of people. But then when he moves up, he will be that presence in a Premier League job as well. Whereas it felt like with Nathan Jones, it felt like he was trying to prove himself a lot of the time.
Or maybe Carrick just never spoke to the kit man.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe he didn't like the kit man. That's a good point. Another, ex-Man United disciple that you both have agreed on is the Ipswich Town manager, Kieran McKenna. Didn't even win the league somehow, but 101 goals, 35 conceded, which is the least in the division as well. He's gone in there, and again, bit of a sleeping giant in that division. Expected to go up, but they've done it with style.
Yeah, they absolutely have. And McKenna will know Carrick very well from their time working at Manchester United under various managers, but in particular Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and both of them have branched out on their own. And if there were any questions about whether United's struggles under Solskjaer were anything to do with his backroom staff and a lack of quality and technical or tactical quality, well, those have been blown out of the water by what these 2 managers have been able to do. McKenna is, without a doubt in my mind, already an elite coach in terms of on the grass, in terms of the ideas and the patterns of play that he's been able to put in place at Ipswich almost immediately when he took over. First and foremost, they developed an incredible possession-based style of play, which a lot of people think of in attacking terms, but has actually been an incredible defensive tactic for Ipswich. They have dominated almost every single game in terms of the shot count and chances in both boxes because they dominate the ball so much. By the time the opposition have it, they're so knackered that they can't attack with it. And Ipswich's shape in terms of defending transition has always been very good as well, which is where some teams fall down. So just in terms of tactical, not so much flexibility, but what he's been able to implement, a game model, and what I've heard about him on the training pitch and how much players just are obsessed with going in and learning, with going in and training, because every session is interesting and creative, and so they're really engaged as well. And a lot of people talk about man managers as big personalities, and McKenna's not that.
No.
He's very quiet. He's a classic, never too high, never too low. He's not going to be shouting about himself or bigging up his team even, and in defeats he's never going to be overreacting either. And some fans would want a bit more passion, but I think the modern manager at the top level, we're seeing more and more, and actually, you know, more on the continent probably before the English game, career coaches, career managers, not former players who have just gone straight into management, but people who've spent their whole life preparing for the moment with sessions that just come straight off the top of their head. McKenna's a bit like that for me, and that's why I just think his pathway will take him to the Premier League for sure. It could be with Ipswich, because we expect them and the way that they play in League One to translate very well to the Championship. There's no reason why, like Sunderland this season, they couldn't be challenging the top 6 next season in the Championship.
Yeah, when I'm looking at the Championship, as a QPR fan, I'm sort of gulping, because next season it feels like it's going to be sort of jam-packed with big clubs. They didn't win the league, as I said. Stephen Schumacher's Plymouth Argyle did, winning 7 out of their last 8 matches. And he's done an incredible job. And it's a difficult one when you go from the assistant manager to sort of come in and make it your own. Often that doesn't work, but he's been superb for them.
Incredible. And I think, with McKenna, you've got someone who has achieved what he was expected to achieve and had done it with aplomb. I think with Schumacher, you've got someone who has overachieved from what was expected. And I think when you're recruiting, especially that group of Premier League teams who are maybe just outside the Big Six, recruiting someone who has a track record of outperforming budgets. And, when you look at the resources that Sheffield Wednesday and Ipswich Town have compared to Plymouth Argyle, the fact that he's been able to finish on more points with them is a massive string to his bow. And also when you look at their in-game management this season, like if the first half league table in League One has Argyle as a mid-table team, second half they're miles out on top, and that's because his substitutions are unbelievably effective. He's changed the shape in the second half as well, and that is clearly down to Schumacher. He is one part of what is probably the best run club in the EFL in terms of, he isn't necessarily in charge of recruitment, he isn't necessarily the one-man band, and I do think he might need that structure around him, but certainly as a personality, despite obviously being a proud Evertonian, living on the South Coast, he has an unbelievable relationship with the fans who adore him. He just has that presence and that being of somebody who knows exactly what they want out of their players, can get the fans and players behind them too, and the ownership. And he, I think Argyle fans hope he's there for a long time. He's already turned down Championship approaches. But if they do settle to life in the Championship, I can't see why there won't be a queue of Premier League clubs trying to get him.
So, literally in a sentence, does he have to leave Plymouth to go to another Championship club to then get that move to the Premier League?
No,
or can he
not
do
necessarily. I don't see why not.
Okay.
Given the way...
Luton, the blueprint for Plymouth Argyle.
Great point.
They are in the playoffs last season, in the playoffs this year. There's absolutely no reason why Plymouth Argyle couldn't do the same.
Okay, let's have some different options that you disagreed on when it came to your sort of top 5, because there are so many great managers in the Championship and League One as well. George.
Yes.
Give me both of yours, actually. Let's put them in a little package.
Yes, so my two are Mark Robins and Mike Duff. I know who Ali's going to pick, and I respect them a lot as well before I upset anybody.
It's been a
see,
long season,
you can see the scars.
Too many teams.
I'm so tired of being told if I say one thing, I don't mean the other. But yeah, starting with Mark Robins, and this might sound like kind of a big thing to say, but I think Mark Robins has probably done basically the best job in management in English football over the last 6 or 7 years of anybody, and that includes Premier League teams, where normally when you look at a manager who's done a transformative job at a club, it's part of the infrastructure. Nathan Jones at Luton being a good example, where you cannot deny what an incredible job he did, but he was certainly part of a framework that continues to be successful without him. Mark Robins came into Coventry City just as they're getting relegated from League One into League Two, and it was an absolute mess off the field, and it stayed that way for a long time. The success that he's achieved by getting them from League Two up into 5th in the Championship has been done despite off-field issues, and that is unbelievably impressive. When you also consider that they've only been taken over this year, Doug King taking over, the potential is there to go even further. And for some reason, I think his profile as a player or a manager means that he's kind of perceived not to be desirable to Premier League sides, and I can't really understand why. For me, he would be a great potential option for a side who are struggling at the bottom end of the Premier League. Mike Duff is someone who's really interesting to me as well at Barnsley, where he has managed 2 clubs in Cheltenham Town and Barnsley, so different in terms of their profile as a club, in terms of the way that they run, in terms of their geographical place in the country too, and yet I think it's quite rare. You look at Nathan Jones and him only having success at Luton and struggling at Stoke and Southampton. Duff has managed to translate success over both clubs, playing a completely different style of play. Cheltenham very low margin, very defensive first, whereas with Barnsley incredibly free scoring, getting them to a good attacking unit. He's also had a decent playing career and a brilliant manager too. So they would be my two to keep an eye on.
When we talk about Kieran McKenna, it's interesting. I think Mark Robbins and Carrick as well. That sort of quiet nature can be useful because things don't sort of reverberate as much as they could do. And there has been a lot of chaos with Coventry. Of course, you've shunned Mark Robbins and Mike Duff to go for two other people that George, you've shunned.
I respect both of those managers, but I disrespect George very strongly, and I think my picks are way more worthy. No, I think we've looked at it in slightly different ways. George probably taking the word deserve more literally and probably doing right by the title of the video in terms of the jobs that those two have done. For me, I'm just trying to move 5 years into the future and look at profiles really as much as anything. So we start with Russell Martin, who very clearly has not yet had a moment of success or achievement like some of the managers that we've discussed. However, do I think it could come in the next year or two? Absolutely yes. I think a championship promotion, possibly at Swansea if he is backed, possibly at Leicester City who he's been linked to recently, or in Norwich City or another club in the championship if he is not getting backed at Swansea. I don't think he would hesitate to take a better job elsewhere, and he would probably deserve to do so. It's more about the style of play, that he's so wedded to a certain style. And if you watch the Premier League, even the mid-table teams, it's the way that they want to play. In their dream world, they want to have this control in possession. They want to have really well-drilled patterns of play. It increases the value of players. It increases the ceiling of the team if you can get it right. And so far, he hasn't had everything click yet, but I absolutely think that could come. He's also only 37. He's just finishing his 4th season in management, so he's very experienced at such a young age. And then the last one for me is Rob Edwards. Both of these guys, really impressive characters who speak about the game with clarity and with confidence. I think that goes a long way.
Both gorgeous as well, actually.
Incredibly handsome men, which never hurts.
Best hair in the EFL, Rob Edwards.
I agree.
And Edwards, well, he took over a Luton team that I genuinely didn't think could get a lot better after Nathan Jones left for Southampton, but they have got better. They've got better in possession. They're a better all-round team. And for me, I've just seen at Forest Green and Luton this really good mixed style that he's been able to implement. They're good on the ball, but they can play direct, and they can switch it up to match the opposition. Great threat from wing-backs. He's a bit of a wing-back whisperer. He plays at front two, and they've been a handful both seasons, and carries himself so well as well. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if either Mark Robbins or Michael Carrick or Rob Edwards are managing in the Premier League next season. They're all going into the playoffs right now as we speak. So one of them will probably be in the Prem next season, but if not...
Or Tony Mowbray, who's an omission from this list, who could easily have been on there as well.
One of many omissions. So, guys, if you enjoyed this video and the phrase wing-back whisperer, hit the like button. And if there are other managers that we've missed out that you think will be Premier League managers at some point, let us know in the comments down below.